how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at American Poltergeist, The Curse of Lilith Ratchet. This is from 2018, and I will say this is the version we're talking about. There are two other unrelated movies that are also called American Poltergeist. I believe this one was originally just called The Curse of Lilith Ratchet, but they added in that American Poltergeist title. At least they let it keep its original title as a subtitle. That makes it easier to pick this one out of the crowd. I don't know why we needed 3 American Poltergeist movies that are all unrelated, but that's the situation we're in right now. Anyway, this one was written, produced, and directed by Eddie Lengyel, and stars KateLynn E, Newberry, Rob Jaeger, and Roger Conners. Now, this is a low-budget horror movie, and it falls into very typical low-budget horror movie trappings. The characters are underdeveloped with some wooden acting. It never gets particularly scary. The shot choices aren't that great, and characters will constantly say or do things. It just feels a little bit off. There's also weird meandering plot points like, hey, what if the ghost hunter guy's mom showed up and did a little wacky comedy bit and then left never to be seen again? You know, low-budget movie stuff. However, I will say it's better than a good chunk of those low-budget movies. I mean, a lot of them border on unwatchable, and this one is kind of okay. It's bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not terrible. You can tell they are trying, and you can tell that there is some effort here, and there are a few points that kind of work, and I think a good metaphor for that is the ghost herself, Lilith Ratchet. She's got this cool design with long fingernails and creepy eyes and this old Victorian dress. She's cool looking. Should she be on screen as long as she is? And should she be as well lit as she is? No, it totally ruins the illusion. And also the idea that there's this ghost that's not Elizabeth Borden, but is a clear stand-in for her, and she had this horrible, troubled past, and wound up getting her head shrunken. You know what happens now? At a Halloween party, they play hot potato with her head as part of some weird ritual that serves no other purpose than to get them all killed, except for when Lilith kills people outside of the game sometimes because forget about rules, right? But yeah, that's a weird low-budget movie idea, playing shrunken head hot potato? What? No, I wouldn't even want to touch that thing, but the characters in this movie just go, ooh, a severed head. What do you know? Human remains. It's weird. And there's other choices too, like there's this one girl in the movie who sees the ghost of her grandmother, and you find out her father is dead, and you also find out her mother's a functioning alcoholic, and you wonder what her future's gonna be like. That is not the main girl. That is like her friend that dies really early on in the movie. And I'm like, why did we give her all the character development? Where's the character development for our main girl? Yeah, it's weird. Like I said, they are trying and they are clearly low budget, and they just keep running into these problems of things being not quite right, and there's a really bad example of that early in the movie, and we'll get to it in a second. Overall, this movie is just another low-budget horror movie that doesn't quite work. It's stiff and awkward and wooden and never quite scary. Props for trying, and at least we got a cool monster design out of it. But yeah, it doesn't quite work, but I think this can be found pretty easily for streaming, and I think the DVD's pretty cheap as well. If you want to watch it, it's not a terrible time. If you want a little bit of a cheesy movie you don't have to pay too much attention to, you're not going to remember it in a few days, but it's not terrible. And believe me saying it's bad but not terrible puts it above lots of other low-budget Dollar Tree movies. Anyway, though, let's talk a bit about the plot in order to analyze this further. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to take a moment, break a few things down, and talk about a few scenes that don't work. I'll be avoiding the end bits, so no significant spoilers, but let's dive in a little deeper. We open up with a scene. You know how I said there's a scene right at the beginning that causes quite a few people to check out? Well, we're doing a game-based horror movie, so naturally we see the last group of people to play the game. It seems to be down to these two girls, and Lilith shows up in the house and chases them around. It's a fun enough sequence. Again, we do see Lilith too much. But what gets people and what causes people to just leave the movie is this one blonde girl will hide in the bathroom in the shower with a clear glass door. It honestly is so comedic and funny to see her hiding behind a sheet of glass and like the ghost isn't going to see her there. And I think what happened is when they wrote the script, they wrote hides behind a shower curtain. When they got to the location, it wasn't a curtain, it was a glass door. And they didn't figure something else out, have her hide in a closet or something instead. The thing with movie scripts and shooting on actual locations as opposed to sets, the real world location is never gonna line up 100% with your script or with your storyboards, and you gotta be willing to reblock and figure things out, or you're gonna get stupid stuff like hiding behind a piece of glass. A lot of people check out of the movie right there. But if we press on, we'll meet the next round of people playing the game. And again, a case of real people don't do this. There's a kind of awkward magic shop sequence. They go into the magic shop to buy some incense, and there's the box from the game with Lizzie's severed head in it, and they say, "What's that?" And the guy's like, "It's not for sale. Never mind that this is a magic shop, and I just have it right there on the counter." And when the guy goes in the back for a minute, I mean, what do you do when left unchecked with a severed head? You steal it, of course. Yeah, these aren't really punk characters, they're not really juvenile delinquents. The idea that they would steal the severed head really comes out of nowhere. I mean, we don't really know the characters, but I'm just saying it's not played like that later. But whatever, we go to Beyond the Veil. Basically, they're in this college town, and there's this guy who has a podcast called Beyond the Veil, and it is like the most popular thing since sliced bread. Everybody in this town just knows this guy, and they all listen to his podcast, so naturally they walk right up to his front door. And this is one of those movie tropes that bugs me, when people are on TV and then they just pop into the movie. Like, reality, you don't see celebrities just walking down the street that often, and the idea that there's this well-known public figure and his address is just public knowledge. You don't want your address to be public knowledge, then people will show up and do weird stuff. It's, people try to prevent that. But whatever, they just show up at this podcaster's house and they sell him the severed head for $200. When he starts promoting the show with it, they're like, "How much do you think that was really worth?" And I'm like, this guy's apparently the most popular podcaster in the world and you have a legitimate haunted artifact. Okay, maybe you don't know that, but you know it's a severed head. Maybe you should have thought a little before you took the first offer. Or maybe you just say, "Hey, we stole it anyway, let's get a profit and not complain." Whatever. When they show him the severed head, he does a basic Google search and finds out about Lilith Ratchet. There's this whole story where she lost a baby, the husband ran off with another woman, she got magical powers, killed her, but turns out that who she learned the magical powers from, the other woman was their sister, and now she gets her head cut off and shrunk down and put in a box. And again, I just can't get over the fact that people just take a human head and they're just holding it like super, super casually. Now, what does all this have to do with playing hot potato with her head? I don't know. She has a Lizzie Borden style rhyme about her, and that's the hot potato counter. But I don't know why there's a game. There just is. Whatever. The podcaster says, "Hey, there's a Halloween party coming up. let's do a live broadcast, and they all go and they play the game during this live broadcast. And wouldn't you know it, all the main characters show up to play the game, and they happen to lose Hot Potato right in the order that they would die if they were in a horror movie. And then after the game's over, they start dying because they're in a horror movie. And I will say the deaths, they like do a good job at making them like, oh, it could have been an accident or maybe self-inflicted. And that kind of helps when they have to go, oh no, I do think this is real, you gotta believe me. But overall though, it's pretty standard Curse movie stuff. I will say it builds to a decent finale, and not major spoilers, but I will say the location is like this basement area to a bar that for whatever reason stretches out into this crazy labyrinth. It's surreal, but I do kind of like it, even though again, she's on screen way too much during this and you just kind of see her standing there at a few points. Whatever. Again, this movie's bad, but it's not terrible, and there's something strangely watchable about it, maybe because there is some effort behind it. It's a case of if you find it for free and have a day to burn, you might as well, but it's not anything special. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more videos kind of like this, you can click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. See you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.